What's going on, guys? Away from Revolution here with Edouard Meylan, CEO of Moser, and one of the, I have to say, one of the best brand builders in the industry. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you, Wei.
No, really true. I mean, like every time I look forward to coming to Moser, I mean, they're always so interesting, so provocative, so cool. Some of the best collaborations I've ever seen. The one with Max Buser was phenomenal. The one with Undefeated was also phenomenal. So maybe I should start with that. First, tell us a little bit about how that came about, and like how are you going to supply the incredible demand for these watches?
Collaborations is it's just circumstances. I think in the case of Max, he's the king of collaborations, and he came to me 2017, I think, at Dubai Watch Week and said, we've done with those artists, with those guys. I'd like to do something with Moser and play with your dials. And I said, oh, wow, it's kind of an honor because he's kind of the pioneers in the world of independence. So for us to slowly growing this brand and then collaborate with them was very interesting. But we're a brand, we're not artists. So I went back to him and said, listen, I would love to do it, but I think it should be a two ways collaboration. We talked a lot about that, but it ended up being two great products, both looking like the two brands, which was actually the objective. So the result was amazing. I think it was one of the first very credible collaboration that triggered many others. On our side, we like to do things different, and every time it should, be something different. So we had a few other collaborations, but the one about Undefeated went through Eric, who is the owner, Eric Chang, and reached out to me just out of the blue after, I don't know, he saw an article about us. And he had a few Mosers. He had actually two of the original chronographs, because he's a collector, and when you collect watches is one thing, but he collects, and he started with sneakers, and when you collect sneakers, you always buy two pairs, one you never touch and one you wear. It's the same for him with watches. So he has like the one that stays at the safe and one that he wears. So it was like, we made 100 and you have two of them. And he said, and then we have Zooms, and we each had got to know each other, met each other, and he said, yeah, let's do something together. And then I was like, wow, this is two worlds that are so far apart. But that's the fun of it. That's why we do collaborations. Max and Moser, MB&F and Moser are very different in the watch industry. But here we have two brands. One is streetwear from LA, and we have this small brand from Schaffhausen, right? And that's what's fun. It's like we create watches that we like, but there we do with somebody who has completely different perspective. So we give them the canvas, we let them express themselves. And then we talk to people we would otherwise never talk to. And then we have guys like you who come, understand this, get excited about it, talk it to a huge community who discover it. Some understand, some don't. But again, it creates a discussion. It makes this entire industry discover new territories, get new people to discover that there are some amazing creations in the watch industry, and we all grow from there.
Yeah, I love the way that you innovate in terms of the structure of the collaborations as well. I love how you were telling me about, Max was like, initially thought it was going to be a collaboration for him, but then you had a two-way collaboration. I also loved with the Undefeated collaboration that you had the regular watch, and then there's also like a friends and family watch as well, which no one's ever seen really, which I think is really cool.
But that's their way of thinking. I mean, Undefeated has a huge community of followers, and some very, very high profile, very well-known people, like Hollywood stars, NBA stars, and all those kind of people. So what they usually do when they do a collaboration is they make something slightly different that they reserve, that they never talk about, and they do. So
I love that.
Now we talked about it, but maybe we can show it afterwards.
But what was really cool was we have a mutual friend, this amazing American artist, Wes Lang, and he was the first guy I saw because he showed me that watch, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. It's absolutely amazing, right? And then there's another guy also who. Will Welch, who's like the editor-in-chief of GQ, and he's also like a big Moser fan as well. So it's really interesting to see how there's so much like excitement being generated in unconventional sort of like watch clients.
I think it brings a lot of people together, and for us in the recent years, more and more very high-profile, amazing creatives and successful people like Will or Wes, and it's new to me, but it's very, very gratifying to be able to meet those people, exchange, and who knows, do more things together.
So let's talk about the watch that you're launching now, which I guess you've launched a couple days ago, but which obviously people have just lost their mind over. And I'm looking at it now, and I can understand why it's absolutely sublime. It is the first Streamliner in precious metal in rose gold.
It is indeed, yes. It's the Streamliner Tourbillon Vantablack in rose gold.
And the Vantablack is just absolutely insane, guys. I'm going to put on the watch stand so you can. And thank you, Watch Stand, for sponsoring our stand. And that combination with the Vantablack and with that tourbillon is absolutely fabulous. You know?
It's the contrast, and I think it's also like it gives the perspective of the tourbillon kind of flying
Yeah.
on top.
Yeah, exactly.
You lose the perception of the third dimension. Rose gold is also new to us, and there was a lot of discussions what color to combine it with, and I think black and rose gold, you cannot go wrong.
Phenomenal.
And this is the blackest you can get. You know?
Yes.
So it's in 40 millimeter, which is a very reasonable size also, especially because it's with the integrated bracelet, it fits even the smallest wrists. This is a small size here because it fits mine.
Oh yeah, you have a small wrist.
I have a very small wrist. And it's 120 meter water resistant, so it's really kind of an everyday watch.
It's phenomenal, you know. So I guess one of the questions I have with you is a watch like this, for example, I mean, the number of people that want it relative to the quantity that you can produce is, you know, it's a huge delta, right? Yeah. But I get at the same time, if you sell your watches to existing clients, you don't grow your base, right? So how do you, as the owner of a brand, decide to allocate your watches so that you can do both, you know, that you can kind of please your existing clients, but you also grow the brand in the right way?
It's a tough one, but what we try to do now is not limited. Right. So it's limited production. We're trying to grow. We're hiring. I mean, we have 80 people working at the manufacturer, so we do most of the things ourselves, not the gold bracelets, but it's still a big investment to develop those bracelets. Right. But then we try to be careful and work hand in hand with our retailers in who to sell to, because we want people to wear the watches. Yeah. We want people to buy at retail our watches and not getting way too many, and it's quite new to us. Yeah. People buying to resell, and that's very frustrating. I had people this morning coming and said, "Oh, I finally got my Streamliner Chrono, but I had to pay a premium for it."
2x or whatever. Like,
yeah, but from somebody who had it for months.
That's not cool.
And I'm like, this is not fair. And
dude,
I'm not saying like you need to blacklist and control, but we need to be careful. It's our responsibility to put it on the right wrist. We're too small to make everybody happy.
Yes.
But it's probably a good thing for luxury brands. It's to be a little bit difficult to get. You need to make your research. There's tons of opportunities out there. So many different brands that you've seen. I've seen your interviews with my peers, with my colleagues. Amazing products that they've been launching. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody. I know there's a bit of frustration right now because independents, the indies have never been so hot, and our production is so limited. Right. Altogether, we do less than 10,000 watches for the world, right? And it's so creative, and then it's gaining in value, so everybody wants a piece of the cake. At the same time, if everybody gets it, then probably everybody will lose interest. So we're trying our best to allocate to the right people, to make enough so that at least there's not too much frustration. And to say, like, don't take a deposit on a watch if we cannot promise to you that you will get it within 24 months. That's our rule, and therefore we try to minimize the frustration. But it's not perfect.
Last question: why do you think the world has just gone absolutely berserk for independent watches?
It's really, I mean, I think there are many factors. I think the pandemic allowed people to spend a lot of time watching your videos and your peers, and got very educated and discovered those crazy artists. I mean, there was this amazing panel with like those amazing independents, really the figures, the leaders of our category, really the creators. And I think they all have it's very human. So I think people relate to that. I think the success of brands like Journe have also helped people discover that beside the big three brands who are selling watches by the thousands and the hundreds of thousands, there are amazing products out there that are similar quality, if not better, for a very reasonable price considering what you get for it, where you can get to know the people who actually made your watch.
That's so important.
And that's a lot of value. Yes. And that's a value. You buy this watch and say, but I know the owner. You know? It gives you like a certain confidence, and it's part of the story.
Exactly.
So I think that's how it kind of suddenly came together. There was a lot of doubt when I started with Moser. People were telling me, but why should I buy a Moser? I'm not even sure you'll be there in 5 years from now, and who's going to service it? I think in the meantime, people know we're here and we're here to stay, and all those independents will stay. And if one of them, I don't know, sells his company, somebody else will take over, because there's so much value and so much history already within such a small period of time. We know some of those brands have 10 years history, and they already created so much for our industry. We're almost 200 years of history. But I think that some of those guys have made so much for our industry with so little time.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. So I think we're all here to stay. We're all bringing a lot of creativity, a lot of human feeling dimension that we don't need to compensate by hiring very expensive ambassadors, and I think that's what makes people very excited about independence.
Dude, love it. Thank you so much, Edouard.
Hey, take
Peace,
care.
guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome.